If you want free Broncos YouTube content, hate the Raiders, the Chiefs, or even the Chargers will be nice and include them. Plus, you're looking for a channel that has live weekly shows with interactive content, then this is the channel for you. Subscribe so you do not miss out all off season and then all season long. What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, talking trade buzz because it's the offseason. I thought we could have some fun on today's show, looking at two players that have been heavily rumored to be in trade circles, and we will discuss whether or not it makes sense for Denver to be in the mix and pull off a trade for one of these notable star players. So let's start things off by looking at the former number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, Chase Young. He has been rumored to be available for a trade after Washington did not pick up his 5th-year option. Would have ran them a bill of $17.4 million. Now, FYI, if a team does trade for Chase Young, they cannot go and pick up his 5th-year option anymore. It is a done deal. So, the reason why I'm talking about Chase Young, because there's a lot of people out there who might be traded, right? There were a record number of players who did not have their 5th-year option picked up, is Sean Payton has shown me this offseason he wants to be aggressive, and the ownership is all in. So you really can't rule Denver out for any player, and they could use some help on the defensive line. Now, Chase Young in his career was the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020, posting 7.5 sacks and 4 forced fumbles. Unfortunately, an ACL tear and then some more in November of 2021 really derailed the next 2 seasons. As you can see, he has only played 12 games over the last 2 years and has amassed a total of 1.5 sacks. So, statistically, it has not been great for Washington, and I can kind of see why they did not pick up his 5th year, paying someone $17+ million for 1.5 sacks in just 12 games the last 2 seasons. Doesn't seem all that financially wise, but we're not talking about some random edge rusher you found at pick 27. We're talking about Chase Young, right? The guy who was setting all sorts of records in college football, didn't even need to play his last year to go number 2 in the draft. He's that special of a player. So if we take anything away from this offseason, learn this. The Broncos are going to be aggressive in the offseason. They will always be a team with Sean Payton at the helm that's going to pick up the phone and do their homework and make the call and ask, just wondering, asking for a friend, what would it cost to get Chase Young, right? They're not going to be passive GM, ownership, head coach type, front office that sits on their hands a ton. So Chase Young, I have some questions with. Why was his 5th year not picked up? Was it not picked up because he only played in 12 games and 1.5 sacks the last 2 years? I don't know. He's that special of a player. Don't you think the Commanders would take a chance on a 5th year? And if it works out, great. If not, well, at least you gave it a shot. Maybe there's something more to Chase Young, right? I don't want to speculate because I never met the guy personally, but maybe there was some, frustrations around his rehab, only playing 3 games last year. And maybe the front office doesn't see him as a long-term culture fit. And I'm sure other teams are also, raising their eyebrows going, hold up. Why didn't they pick up his 5th-year option? What do they know that we don't know? Now, let's talk fit for Denver. Looking at the Broncos front 5 here, it's a very good front 5. It's not a great front 5, meaning there's room for improvement, right? There is no one I can say with absolute certainty is going to be a double-digit sack guy on this team. Baron Browning has never done that in his career. Zach Allen's never gone above 5.5 sacks in his career. DJ Jones is a run stopper. Jonathan Harris is lucky to be a starter. And Randy Gregory has never even come close to playing a full season. So I'm not going to entertain the idea of, no, Denver doesn't need Chase Young. They're good at pass rush. They're not good at pass rush. They don't have a consistent, franchise, cornerstone piece at the second most important position in the NFL, edge rusher. So what could it cost to get Chase Young? That is the big question here, because it's fun to throw out these ideas, but are you really in contention to land a guy like Chase Young? If I had to guess, I think Washington will be looking for a first-round pick for him, and that seems steep to me. So in this just trade projection, if I had to come up with what a trade could look like, maybe it's Chase Young and a fifth for the first round pick. Maybe it costs 2 seconds. I saw a Bleacher Report toss that out. I really don't know. And I don't think anyone in the NFL has a good sense of what does the second overall pick, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, but only played 12 games the last 2 seasons go for. There's not a reference point. There's no chart that really spits out an exact trade value. This is just my best stab at it. Now, when we look at Denver's 2024 draft picks, because we're already looking ahead here, they do not have a second. That belongs to New Orleans for Sean Payton. They did garnish a third from the Saints, but then they traded a third away to Seattle to get Riley Moss. So similar-ish to this past draft. They got a first, unlike last year, but no second, a third. So just 2 picks in the first 2 days of the draft. As of right now, only 2 top 100 picks. So going back to that Chase Young trade, knowing what Denver has in 2024, would you do this trade? Meaning, you get Chase Young, but like last year, you are not picking until the 3rd round. And as of right now, you only have 1 3rd-round pick. So you're only getting Marvin Mims or Drew Sanders in this case here. Or I guess even Riley Moss will include him. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. I would be a lot more open to this if the timing was better. But I don't think Denver wants to go a 3rd straight year without a 1st-round pick. Which, if you're the Rams, you can get by doing that because you got a ring to show for it. There's no ring for Denver right now. So 3 straight years, no first, and no championship ring to warrant not having a 1st-round pick all those years. I think Denver is just going to pass, right? They might be losing out on a generational type player that once he gets healthy, he'll be worth way more than just 1 1st-round pick and you get a 5th-round pick back. And they might look back and regret it, but the timing is just not right. I don't think George Paton as a GM wants to go another year without a 1st-round pick, where as a GM, your job is to build a roster. And the best way to do that is to get good talent in the draft. Connect the dots. 1st-round picks help you do that. So I think the timing is just not there for Denver to be legitimate contenders for Chase Young. But like I said earlier, we're talking about the new Broncos ownership. Walton Penner, Sean Payton, George Paton. They have shown that they have big kahunas, and they are not afraid to drop them, and they are not afraid to go get their guy. So if they love Chase Young, do not rule them out. All right, next up on the show, speaking of trades, what about trading for Cordarrelle Patterson? We're going to talk about trading for the gadget running back / wide receiver. But first things first, help us grow this channel by sharing today's video, sending it to friends and family members through text, Facebook, whatever. But if you share it over on Twitter, and you tag me at Matthew Peterson, that's my handle right there below. It's also in the description and the comments today. If you tag me with the link to this video, include a Broncos player. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up every single person that tags me in a tweet with this video, and then random wheel generator all those picks, all those random players you suggested, and whichever one the wheel lands on, I'll talk about, and we'll kind of go through, ceiling and floor for 2023 season, and just talk shop about some random player. So tag me, include the player in your tweet, and you might be lucky and have that be the random player we talk about. Now, let's talk about trading for Cordarrelle Patterson. He has been mentioned in trade circles after Atlanta when Bijan Robinson at number 8. They already had a 1,000-yard rusher last year, 5th-round pick Tyler Algier. So they're pretty loaded at running back, which maybe makes the 32-year-old do-it-all former Tennessee Vol potentially available for a trade. He's entering the last year of his contract, and he's up in the age column, but he had a resurgence down in ATL. Look at what he's done the last 2 seasons. He missed some time last year for Atlanta, but these are his stats in Atlanta with the Falcons. 1,300 rushing yards. Oh, that's pretty good for 29 games. That's not crazy. 670 receiving yards. Okay, a little pedestrian-ish, but still pretty good for a running back, actually. 19 touchdowns. The guy has a knack for finding the end zone. He is a touchdown scoring machine. He is a all-time fantasy sleeper pick the last 2 years. 19 scores in 29 games. That's pretty good production and value for someone that won't cost you a lot. Now, Denver, in my opinion, could stand to add another running back as we know this story by now, and we are all probably getting a little bit tired of it, myself included, when does Javonte Williams return? I don't know. You don't know. Sean Payton doesn't know. George Paton doesn't know. I don't think Javonte Williams knows, actually. So does Denver want to gamble and wait and hope he comes back on the earlier side? Or do they want to maybe go the safe route and add another back so that, no offense to Tony Jones and all those guys at the bottom of the screen that we've never heard of before, they're not getting serious running back touches if something were to happen to Samaje Perine. So what could a trade for Patterson look like? When you're trading for a 32-year-old running back, you're almost doing the other team a favor at times. I'm talking 7th-round pick. It might even be a 2025 7th-round pick. It could be simply we refill your vending machine Moneyball style. Like, it's not going to cost you much to get CP84. So would you do this trade, right? It's not so much about would you want to give up a 7th-rounder. No one should care about a 7th-round pick. If I was a GM, I would never have a 7th-round pick. They are just that useless, in my opinion. But do you want to go out and trade for Cordarrelle Patterson? That is the question at hand here. Give me your thoughts down in the comment section below with a trade or pass. You got to admit, a ground game of Cordarrelle Patterson and Samaje Perine, and then Javonte Williams maybe returns around week 6, 7, or 8. Like, that is a great three-headed monster for this season. And an offseason that's been so devoted and invested to running the football with free agency acquisitions like Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey. You didn't sign two great run-blocking offensive linemen to have Russell Wilson stand back there and throw it 40 times after last season. So I am all in for a 7th-round pick on Cordarrelle Patterson. Sign me up. Just let me know where to sign. I don't care what color pen. Let's get him 2 Mile High. It makes too much sense with only Samaje Perine in the backfield and no idea when Javonte Williams returns. That is it on today's show. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, making us a part of your Tuesday. If you have not subscribed, I friendly/kindly remind you to go ahead and do so, and we'll see everyone later.